Welcome back to On Point, another big favorite edition. James, we had El Arib and Classic Empire last week. One winner, one loser. Another big favorite in the Sam F. Davis and McCraken. Is he going to be like El Arib or Classic Empire?
Well, I think it's
Take
hard.
a stand.
I'm gonna go with Classic Empire,
Okay.
but I do think that the race could set up. When I first looked at the field, I didn't think there might be a lot of pace in there. But the more I look at it now, the more I'm thinking, hey, they're adding blinkers to State of Honor, and the inaugural winner and Pasco runner-up has early speed and fact finding, and perhaps Walt Schott is a confirmed front runner. So it actually looks like he might get a pretty good setup for his late kick.
Yeah, I'm leaning more toward the speed just because of the way the track plays. Granted, small sample size, only 15 races at a mile and a 16th, but definitely deep closers, not the preferred trip at Tampa. But I will say this, I always forget what year it was, but there's been a couple big prices, whether it's the Sam F. Davis or the Tampa Bay Derby, and in those races, it's when it just completely fell apart. And in those cases, it was a big price that picked up the pieces, but in this case, it would be the favorite. At the price, I'm going to play against him. I'm just going to say the big kick's going to fall up short. He's definitely someone I'm interested in going forward. His trainer knows how to be involved with the Derby winner. Go Sapper out of a Seeking the Gold mare. No reason to think he won't develop. But in this spot is the favorite. I think he's beatable, and I landed on Fact Finding, who I just think is going to get the jump and run on the field and run away from him.
Yeah, I mean, you have to respect Fact Finding. He's 3 for 3 for Pletcher and ran a real big race last time on a sloppy track. Got the top speed rating in the field, 101. For me, it's interesting, like, to try to guess what the odds are going to be. I mean, I look at a horse like Fact Finding, as well as like No Dozing, that's making his first start since the Remsen runner-up, who has good speed numbers. Walt Schott, and it's hard to for me to really get a good feel for who's going to be second choice, who's going to be the fourth or fifth choice. One horse I will mention that intrigues me, I'm probably going to land on, is Tapret. And one thing I like about him is
Land on top.
All right. And he's a little bit under the radar. He's making his graded debut as well, but I really like the turn of foot he showed in his last two starts, breaking his maiden at Gulfstream Park West before he captured the off-the-turf pulpit last time. And I like the fact that the horse that he beat, Master Plan, came back and won real convincingly at Ocala. And I think Tapret has a chance to jump forward and perhaps surprise him.
Well, it's a good field. Got the points back, which probably helped with the depth. But I think whoever the winner is will have earned it. I mean, if McCraken wins with his style, to me that's definitely a feather in his cap. Fact-finding, rerouting from the Holy Bull, going 4 for 4 would be impressive. No Dozing out of the Remsen. I mean, there's a lot of horses here who I feel like this. We already know who they are, but a win here against this competition would definitely stamp them as sort of who we think they are.
And definitely with McCraken, I mean, he's 3 for 3 at Churchill. That first start away from a track, there is a little bit of uncertainty whether he's going to be able to reproduce that form there. So, and I'll mention one other thing that I thought was interesting is the race before that to Tampa Bay, his half-brother, McCracken's half-brother, Bondurant, is running in that race. So it's, you don't see that too often, half-brothers back-to-back races.
Yeah, well, and speaking of the undercard, I haven't looked at who's in it. Well, I guess Alate's in there this year, so that's a perfect segue. But you mentioned before we came on, but Royal Delta passing away from Folan complications. She actually didn't win the Suncoast, beaten favorite. I was there that day, and I remember thinking, man, they're betting this horse off the board, off a maiden. She was 7-1 in her career debut, and of course she went on to huge things, a certain Hall of Famer. And Zenyatta had the better career, but I think if you would have put him in the gate in their prime, Royal Delta would have been right there with her.
Yeah, I mean, she's, that was her first stakes race. She came back and won an allowance at Keeneland, and then won the Black Eyed Susan.
Yep.
So, she was just a phenomenal older horse. I mean, she was good as a 3-year-old as well, winning the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So, by the second half of that season, she had just really come on, and it was a huge blow to see that news about her passing away.
Yeah, her being by Empire Maker and a Galileo filly now on the ground, certainly regal breeding, and all eyes will be on her as she develops as the only progeny Royal Delta, but certainly condolences to all the connections, and we'll see what her, I guess not technically stable mate, but a late similar connections does in the Suncoast. But I know a lot of people think maybe she's up to the unique Bella task.
Yeah. So I mean, I think so. Off of that maiden win was just spectacular. So I hope so.
All right, well, that's Tampa Bay tomorrow. We'll be back next week to recap it, and we'll switch to synthetic for some picks in the El Camino Real.
All right, sounds good.
Later.